good evening, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for making the time to be here. My name is Sophie Dawes, and I'm an education specialist here at GL Education, with responsibilities for general abilities, baselining, and speech and language communication. Just so that we can get a feel for our audience today, we're going to pop up a quick poll to find out sort of what you're currently doing. Are you currently using CAT4? Yes or no, quick yes or no, just to get an idea of where we are. So do vote in the quick poll that we've got up here. Is your school currently using CAT4? Yes or no? And Terry will shortly share the results of that. Okay, so we've got 81% of you so far, currently using CAT4. So really good to see you here, trying to find out how to get more out of your CAT4 and really support your students. And almost 20% of you not currently using CAT4. So I am going to do a bit of an introduction to CAT4, just to cater for those people who've not met CAT4 before. And then I'll go in some more detail into how to get the most out of it, and make use of our tools to get the right insight and use it to best effect with your students. So for those of you who are new to GL, we're a world leader in the provision of high quality assessments. We've been a trusted provider of standardised assessments for over 40 years, and we're used in over 19,000 schools across 111 countries. We've worked with a network of experts and research bodies to provide world-leading high-quality assessments and data analytics. We continue to invest in the development of meaningful assessment data and to provide teachers with a whole pupil approach to supporting success using tests of ability, attainment, and barriers to learning. We're now part of the Renaissance family, and this has increased our ability to also offer practice products to help support the progress and the development that you're seeking. One of our driving values is supporting colleagues in schools around the world to ensure that children thrive and succeed. This ethos is supported by our team of colleagues, which includes former teachers like myself and education leaders. Together, we have over 140 years of combined school experience. So, why use standardised assessment? And I understand that for 80% of you, I'm probably talking to the converted here, but it's really important to use standardised assessment as part of, and not the whole of, your whole picture of the student. And you should use this alongside your teacher observations, written work, oral work, internal assessments, and anything else which you've got to go by. But the standardised assessment will give you a way of triangulating to a reference point and perhaps to look for where perhaps your students are not meeting the potential that they might have, and to really highlight some particular strengths and challenges. CAT4 is hugely used, not just in the UK, but around the world. And the GCSE indicators were verified against 91,000 pupils. Now, assessments are measured in terms of their reliability. This is the consistency of the assessment, and above 0.7 is widely perceived as good, but we have a reliability stat of 0.96, which is really, really high, and there really isn't anything else out there to match it. So you can rely on the results you're getting from CAT4, and there's stability in those CAT4 scores year on year. So looking in CAT4 in a bit more detail, the reason why there's a 4 in the name is because there's 4 different general abilities that are tested here. So we've got your verbal ability, the ability to reason and work with words, the non-verbal ability, which is almost in counter to that, your quantitative abilities, your ability to recognize and reason with numbers, and spatial reasoning, so that ability to visualize in 2-dimension and 3-dimension of shapes and their interactions. So in addition to the benefits of using CAT4 to support those indicators of future performance that many schools are looking for, getting those GCSE indicators or A-level indicators, it's really important to look beyond that standard mean score. And the data also can be used to identify these strengths and challenges, not just of whole cohorts, but of groups and actual individuals. So it can be used as well to be a first step in the early identification of potential barriers to learning. So looking at the mean SAS is a great place to start. So you've got the standard assessment, standard age score for each of the batteries here. You can also see the number of questions attempted by each student. And you've got your overall average of the standard age score across the batteries. And you've also got an indication here in your report of where the pupil sits within the group rank. So with a group of 204, you can see that the student at the top is in equal 123rd place. So we do encourage our colleagues in schools to look beyond that mean SAS and to dive a bit more into the detail. So this learner, for example, has got, let me just change my pointer so it's a bit clearer. There we go. So this learner has got a mean SAS of 102. So that's well within the average range. So you can see the average range is given here. And the absolute centre of that average is 100, and your high performing students up here, and your low and below average, above average categories in there. So 102 is pretty much right in the middle of that average band. Whereas this learner, his overall mean SAS is in that average range, but it's at the lower end of the average range. And they have a verbal score which is below average. It's just sitting in here in STAY 9.3 in this below average range. So this learner is likely to need some more support with accessing the curriculum, in learning how to express themselves, and it's generally important that we've got an awareness of this, because this is going to hamper, unless adequately supported, this is going to hamper their ability to meet that potential indicated by their other scores. So you can use the filters in your HTML report. Some of you may not have realised that when you've done your CAT4, you can look at both PDF versions of your reports, but also HTML versions of your reports, and there are filters within those. Or you can take the Excel report of the results and add some of Excel's conditional formatting to highlight and identify users with particular strengths and challenges. Make sure that you're putting things in place to make sure that all students can access the curriculum, but also that those that need to be stretched, you've got some indication of what that potential might be. We also describe learners as having an even versus an uneven profile. If we look at Jonah here, his scores are broadly aligned. It's a fairly, it's not quite a horizontal line, but it's fairly close together. And so that means that his individual abilities are very close to that average ability, and there's no one area of specific or relative strength or challenge. Whereas Harmeet, on the other hand, there's a real difference between the highest score which here is in non-verbal, which is above average, and the lowest score, which here is the verbal. We call this a spiky or uneven profile, and this indicates they've got a relative challenge in this area of verbal reasoning. It's possible to have an even profile like Jonah's that's above average or below average. Jonah's is average, but if a learner has a generally even profile but below average, then this will indicate a low general reasoning ability, and that student is likely to need support to access the curriculum and to realise their potential. Similarly, an uneven profile may indicate a different area of particular strength or challenge. So it's really important that we look at the profiles of each student as an individual, and also consider that in the wider context of the evidence that you have around the child. So once you've administered CAT4 and you've got your results, where should we go looking at next steps? So first of all, it's quite important to look at both the group reports, but also, and some colleagues I know will be heavy users of these individual reports, but some colleagues have not had access to them. So if you've not had access to the individual student reports for teachers with your CAT4 results, please do go to your person responsible for administering CAT4 and ask them for the individual reports for your class and the group report for teacher for your class, because these will offer you a fair amount of insight about those challenges and strengths of that individual child and that group, and perhaps how to approach them. So as we looked at before, you need to really be aware of any low scores in any individual battery or combination of batteries for each student, and make sure that you put in the right support for that student. When you look at the profile summary in the individual report, you'll see also the implications for teaching and learning. So these are individualized to that student's results. And to give you some indication, so in the teacher report of perhaps how to approach things in the classroom, but also in the individual report for parents, which you're welcome to share with parents, and perhaps give them an indication of perhaps the sorts of subjects that the student might find easier than others. And I say might because it's not at all prescriptive and every child is different, and perhaps the areas of homework that they would benefit from more support with, and ways to help them. We also have on our support site the CAT4 strategies for learning, which I really recommend having a read, and also really perhaps to dispel some myths that are currently held around fixed learning styles. Really would guide you towards watching our post-testing essentials training for CAT4, and you can access this on our support site under training and assessment insights and into CAT4 and the post-testing essentials. So this would really give you a comprehensive guide of how to analyse and interpret the assessment data that you're getting from CAT4 and to really work out what those next steps should be. We do also have a team of assessment advisors who can do a one-to-one assessment insights consultation with you, and this is free as part of your CAT4 product, and you can access that. This is just if you scroll down on the same page, you'll be able to access this, and you can actually click on that link to find out some more about the assessment insights consultation and fill in a form to book. If you are part of a multi-academy or school group, then you should have access to an education advisor. If you're not sure who to contact, fill in the form and we'll put you in touch with the right person. So apart from the reports, many of you, I hope, will already be using the GL data dashboard, which is really a way to start to bring your data around the student together and get a picture of what that means for them, for your group or your cohort and the whole school, and really should feed into the strategy of how you're approaching teaching and learning. So for customers using at least 2 of our assessments, your key results data from CAT4 can be viewed alongside progress test series, NGRT, pass at a whole school, subgroup, or individual student level. And using these data insights helps you to target individuals and key groups in need of intervention, and also those with potential to be stretched beyond their current performance. Really common with CAT4 to find at least a few students whose potential indicated from CAT4 is well above that you're observing currently in the classroom. It's really important to dig into why that's happening, perhaps do a bit of investigation, and obviously discussions with that pupil and their parents to really find out what's going on. And in some cases, it might be that there's an underlying barrier, a hidden barrier to learning and progress that's not been spotted before. It might be that the way that they are trying to access the curriculum and learn their subjects is perhaps a strategy that's just not working, or just not working for them. It's a good way to look at how you and the student together are approaching their learning, and to explore new ways and to test those out and to see whether that might actually deliver better results. It's really important to support teachers in using the data to improve teaching and learning, but also having that data means that staff can feel very well supported in terms of evidence-based decision making, which can be really helpful in conversations with parents, just bringing in those insights that are perhaps a bit easier to contextualize and communicate. So taking a look at the data dashboard, which you access in your reporting area of CAT4, if you're using, again, more than one of these assessments, you'll be able to bring up that data dashboard, and here you can see all of your test-wise assessments, core assessments in one place. So here we've got CAT4 data, and this is all through schools. So they've got data right the way through from their youngest learners who are taking CAT4 right up to their sixth formers. And it's quite interesting to look at this year on year from a cohort perspective. Here at a glance, you can see that in general, these sixth formers have a lower ability than the other year groups, but also that the children in this pre-A age group, so for different schools around the world, this would be different, but here in the UK, this would be some of your key stage 1 learners, that actually that's slightly higher. And that's really interesting to know as a school leader, as a year group head, or any teacher who's going to be involved with teaching or supporting that cohort, that actually this is quite different to some of the other cohorts that have gone before. And I can choose to see the content breakdown across the different batteries. I can narrow this down to individual year groups, and I've got lots of different filters here that I can choose to narrow down and focus in on certain parts of the data. I can also go into the individual pupil view, which is really powerful. And I've worked with a lot of people working in schools to look at this and how they can better support their pupils. And again, it's a whole pupil view, but you also need to look at this with the context of your wider knowledge of the child and how they're getting on and what's happening in their lives. So here I can see the CAT4 scores. It's a little dial. This student has a mean SAS of 94. I can click through and go into the detail of the individual batteries. But here I do get the ability to compare with reading is being compared to the verbal ability from CAT4, and English is also being compared to that verbal ability. And here I can see that student is operating in English at a much higher level of attainment than would be indicated by their verbal score, which is really useful information. Great that they're doing so well, but actually this is a little warning sign that unless I make sure the right supporting is in place, I would probably see that attainment tail off in future years as the subject gets conceptually harder, and that verbal ability, underlying verbal ability of the student, they might struggle to sustain that. Whereas with the reading, their score is much lower than expected. So it would be quite interesting to dig into that, find out about the student's reading experience, see if there's some discrepancy between the different reading skills and whether there's a barrier to learning that I might need to explore here. We've also, this year, it's very exciting, we've going back into the Training and Assessment Insights area of our page, we have the new CAT4 Learner Guide. So here in the SEND training area, we've got all of our different SEND training dedicated to guiding you through your data. But here under CAT4 Learner Guide, I can click through and I can see some training on the CAT4 Learner Guide, quick video if I want to understand a bit more about the purpose, but I can click through into the CAT4 Learner Guide. We've touched on the potential for verbal or spatial bias already, but there are other discrepant profiles, or we might want to think about how we work with students with a generally low or high ability. So here we've got 8 illustrative examples. The CAT4 Learner Guide helps us to better understand a learner's individual profile of ability, strengths and challenges and how they might best be supported, and that performance drawn and development built upon. It's a great place to further understand some commonalities about your learners. It's really important that we delve into exactly what happens in each of the battery, and you need to appreciate the way that, I'm just going to pause this for a second, the way that these different areas are tested, but also you get a sense of how that might, and this is highlighted in red at the bottom, how that might present in the classroom. We'll be focusing on some specific profiles here within the training. If you're a member of senior middle leadership, a teacher or SENCO, your CAT4 data can add some powerful insights regarding personalising learning in your school. So do take a moment to check out our top tips. And there's a QR code here on the right, which will lead you directly to the CAT4 Learner Guide. If looking at Dasani, when comparing verbal and non-verbal scores, we can see a discrepancy with a lower verbal SAS, which you could describe as a verbal deficit, although it would be for each school to consider their own threshold for action. We'd anticipate learners with a SAS difference of 10 or more as needing further consideration, for example, but again, it's up to you as a school, as a teaching professional, to look at that data and make your own decisions about where to focus. EAL learners would typically be expected to find greater challenge reasoning with words in English, and therefore one of the first questions colleagues should ask themselves of a learner with a discrepant verbal and non-verbal profile is whether EAL could be influencing these results and to what degree. You'll see that each learner has their own story and a series of key considerations that could help you make some adjustments to personalised learning. Whilst we're here, let's take a moment to think about the value CAT4 could add when identifying learners as gifted, which adds another layer of information alongside your analysis of curriculum attainment. Let's take a look at Amy. Amy could be a really good example. She may even be twice exceptional, gifted with SEND. We can see she has an extreme verbal bias. We also know from working with her, she's a good conceptual thinker, but her written work is out of sync. It might be that she has difficulties with organisation or self-regulation, but has a vast knowledge about a particular area of interest with flashes of brilliance in class. Ahmed has a high general profile. One might assume with high abilities that Ahmed should excel in all areas of the curriculum and attain top grades in examinations. We should guard against these assumptions, however, by taking steps to monitor his perception of himself as a learner, his effort and engagement, and his relationships with his peers. Thinking about how to take this forward, CAT4 really is a starting point. And here it's just an overview of some of the ways in which we can support you with your students in terms of accurate assessment, engaging practice to accelerate growth, and actionable insights to support you with your evidence-based decision making. Okay, so I'm going to ask Terry again to pop a poll. So if you've got some more information that you'd like to find out, if you'd like a demo or a free trial, please complete that poll and we can put you in touch with the most appropriate person to help you. Terry, are you able to move that panel just up slightly so that the QR code is available to anybody who wants to take a look at our back to school page?
Unfortunately, I can't move it on people's screen. Okay. They can just move it across. So if it's in your way, guys, please just move the panel across and you'll be able to still access the QR code.
Brilliant, thank you.
While we're doing that, Sophie, did you want to go through some questions?
Yeah, that would be great. I'm going to take my slides off if that's okay.
So a couple of people have asked, can you please show how to navigate to the dashboard? I'm not sure it's something you can share.
Not something that I can do right now because I'm live, but if you sign up for if you answer the poll and ask for a free CAT4 and ask for more information, or if you book in for an assessment insights data consultation, they'll be able to take you through that. But you go into your TestWise account and you go to reporting. There's also on our support site, and I will share that in a minute. I'm just going to navigate to the right place first. There is some training on using the data dashboard. Let me just check exactly where it is before I share my screen. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Share my screen so that we can see that one. Okay, so this is on our support site. If I go into training and assessment insights and data triangulation, here I can see some free training on the actual concept of data triangulation itself, how to use your combination reports, and here there's a data dashboard guided walkthrough that I would encourage you to have a look at. Okay.
Great, thank you, Sophie.
Some more questions, Terry?
Yep, so we've got a question that says, will this give a true reflection of the student in the verbal assessment if they are EAL?
That's a really good question. So if a student is EAL, clearly what you're measuring within the assessment is their ability to do the verbal reasoning in English as an additional language, which is not the same assessment as if you were to do a verbal assessment in a student whose mother tongue is English and they're doing the assessment in English. So you do need to take that into account as you're looking at that. And I know that some schools will, cognizant of the fact that the student is an EAL student, and obviously your own knowledge of how competent they are in English in their second language, to be able to perhaps take that into context, as well as looking at the other batteries.
Great. We have another question. What age should students be in primary and secondary school when they can take the CAT4s or CATs?
So the age ranges are all also on our website. And again, if I share, I can show you directly how to find that information. So if I go back into the support site, if I go into knowledge base, I can look for different assessments. Here's CAT4. And I can have a look choosing a test type and level. And here I can see the different levels of CAT4 and the age ranges that are covered by those levels. And then we've got the UK year groups here. and the Indian, the IB program, and the Australian year groups. We do not have a column for every country around the world, for which I apologise, but as I'm sure you would imagine, this table would be unmanageable, but you should be able to work out from the age of the year group that you're working with which level of CAT4 to go to. Okay.
Thank you very much, Sophie. A question from Paul Bradwell. Is it possible to download all the combined data on a single sheet, pass, NGRT, CAT4, PT together on one sheet?
It is actually, and this is part of the data download. So again, you can go into TestWise, you can look at an individual student from your student screen, you can pick out an individual student, and if you click on the same place where you would edit that student, the right-hand icon will actually take you to their individual data download, or you can go to the data download for a whole group or your whole school within your reporting screen. So yes, you would get all of that in a single spreadsheet.
Okay, great. Another question from Martin. Is there a generic intro to the CAT4 PowerPoint that could be used with test takers and parents?
Yes, we've actually just released some new mini videos suitable for using with students. And again, you can find those on our support website. It's a design, the little video clips that you can play to the students and the parents if necessary to explain what's going to be happening with CAT4. Thank you, that's a great question.
Let me just check. We've got quite a lot come through. What is the recommended frequency of administrating CAT4 and at which grade levels is most effective? I think you answered that part of the question, but the recommended frequency.
Yes, so I also wanted to pick this up with another question that I've seen in the chat about practice questions for CAT4. So that's an absolute myth that you can practice for CAT4. It's very, very resistant, and our research shows this. It's very, very resistant to any form of preparation. It's a measure of the student's ability rather than their required ability. So we wouldn't recommend testing with CAT4 every year because you probably wouldn't see a huge progression in CAT4 scores year on year. We officially say that your CAT4 data is definitely valid for 2 years. In some schools, some special schools where they are doing really intensive work on increasing the verbal range of a student, for example, you might see a difference. And so some of our special schools do test every year, but we wouldn't recommend it in a mainstream school for anything more often than 2 years. And quite often schools will test with CAT4 at key moments, so just prior to transition or just after transition, for example, to work out how best to support those students.
Thank you very much. We've got another question. If the student performs well, does the results act as evidence for grade skipping where age is constant factor?
So can I have a bit more detail on that, Barak, isn't it? Is that where you're saying they could actually skip a year of study and go into 2 years up rather than 1 year up at the end of the year? I don't know if he's still with us. I've not seen a comment in from him.
I don't think they're in. Oh, they are. If you pop something in chat, that would help. We can answer that question in more detail, please.
Yeah. Okay, let's
that
move
would be
on
great.
to that one if we can.
We've got quite a lot of questions coming through. If we don't get them through all of them today, we'll definitely put some Q&As together for the email that comes to you. We've got. Do you have some tests that are specifically geared towards early year foundation stage?
Yeah, so CAT4 obviously is beyond early year foundation stage, because in early years you're kind of at a much more foundation level than a student being able to read and respond to a CAT4 test themselves. So within your early years foundation stage, we do have Welcome, which will assess their speech, language and communication ability. We've also got, within the STAR category of products, we've got the STAR Early Learners that's there. If you'd like to find out more, please do get in touch. One of our education consultants can get in touch with what will most likely meet your needs.
Thank you. I have just seen someone was having issues with CS Viva. If you do have any issues, you can reach out to a customer support team who'll be able to help you. So if you are still having issues, do reach out to them and they can support you with any sort of data input. Sorry, I dismissed the question before I got round to
Okay, I
replying
can
to
see
that.
that Barrett has answered my question. Thank you, Barrett. So yes, so if you were going to make a decision about a student skipping a year, I suppose, or a grade, I would expect that decision to be made on far more comprehensive picture than the CAT4 data alone. The CAT4 data would give you an indication of the potential of the student, but you would need to look at that in the context of the way that they are accessing the curriculum, their confidence in learning, the attainment that they're actually showing, as well as, you know, the teacher observation and judgment of the teachers who are working with that child. So yes, it could be used as part of that picture, but by no means should it be used as the only piece of that picture. I hope that that gives you the kind of answer that you were looking for.
Great. Just a couple more. I think we've got time for just a couple more questions. We've got, the only concern is that students don't take it seriously and then it will be misled our decision. What do you recommend?
So there's a few things here, and certainly when I was administering CAT4 myself in school, I would take the time to speak to each cohort before they did their CAT4 and explain what it is going to be used for and how it's going to be used to support decisions, to really support them in the classroom and with their learning and development. And I found that those kind of conversations went a long way to helping the children actually understand what it was for. Sometimes students have got anxiety about different assessments, and it was quite important to reassure them this is not about measuring how hard you've been working or how well you're attaining. It's not an attainment test. This is about us understanding your strengths and challenges so that we as a teaching body can support you in the best way possible. So that's a really important thing to do. And obviously those short videos, which we've now produced, which I mentioned earlier, are a really accessible way to help share that message to your students. But then when you're actually looking at your CAT4 results, one of the things that you can do is to check how many questions they've answered. And also when you're observing them taking the test, you know, you can see if they're just skipping through too quickly and not really giving each section the time that it deserves. So it's very much about managing those students, managing their expectations and helping them to understand yours as well.
Okay, I think we've got time for just one more. We've got one here that says, can CAT4 results be used to inform individualised education plans, IEPs, or other forms of specialised instruction?
Absolutely, it's a measure of general ability, and it's a recognised standardised measure of general ability. But for more information on that, I would explore the guidance on our website about what can and can't be used in different reports. I wanted to pick out, Abdul has mentioned, why are CAT4 GCSE predictions in decimal points when GCSE levels are in whole number 1 to 9. It's to give you some more granularity. Obviously, a student who's they're not predictions, they're indicated grades. A student whose integrated grade is 5.6 and a student whose integrated grade is 5.9, I would say there's a fair amount of difference between the two. So it's to give you that granularity of understanding of exactly where between the two grades that indication sits. Okay, have we got time for one more, Terry?
Yes, is there one that you would like to raise? Or I think actually Anna's just raised one. How this report be of support to career counsellors in order to help students?
It's a very interesting question. And again, it could be one piece of information to help support that conversation between the career counsellor and the student. Clearly, there's an awful lot more that comes into play in your career than just your general abilities in those 4 areas. But clearly, having some indicated grades to give you an idea of what the student could be aiming for in their qualifications, the descriptions of the strengths and challenges and how this might present. Obviously, there are some students, we've all taught students who have come out of something like CAT4, and there's a much lower prediction than the one that they actually go on to achieve because of the excellent practices that both teacher and student have put in place, and those students can go on to be hugely successful. The attitude of that child, of that student towards work, towards learning, towards other people are all very, very important when it comes into that career guidance and their ultimate progression beyond school. So yes, it can be one part of the puzzle, but I absolutely wouldn't just go, right, this is what it says on paper. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we couldn't get through everyone's question. If we did not get through, we will be putting a bit of a Q&A together so we can help answer those questions for you. Do reach out to our customer support team if you do have any further questions. I will be closing the session now, but I thank you very much for joining us today. An email will be sent to you with the relevant information in a day or two, as well as the recording. But I just want to take this time to thank you for joining us today. Thank you for Sophie for a great presentation, and we hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you very much.